This is a critical moment in human history, and it's necessary to understand exactly what's happening to cause climate change and exactly what the solution is. And basically what I've been studying is that it's possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems. And we need to understand that this is connected to the biodiversity, biomass, and accumulated organic matter. I think that you need to meditate, or you need to study, you need to contemplate what's going on. So when I'm looking at ecosystems, I think that they reveal themselves. If you look at them and you see that the soils are washing away and that you're exposing the underlying mineral deposits and the organic layer is gone and there's no organic materials, no biomass growing there, and then it reveals itself. So I think it's fundamentally true because I've looked at enough to see that there are functional systems and that the earth tends toward those functional systems. It's only where they've been interrupted by human beings that they're damaged. You're in a situation where the climate is changing. This is a massive moment in geologic and earth time, and it's an amazing moment in human history because either we understand this and we get this right quickly, or we will face very serious consequences. That's what the science seems to say. And interestingly, from the point of view of the indigenous people, that's what they've been saying for quite some time. They believe the earth is sacred. They don't just actually believe that the earth is sacred, they know that the earth is sacred. Why would we accept something which poisons our body? Why would we accept poisoning the sky, poisoning the water, poisoning the land? These kinds of questions need to be asked. I think that the ecological trait or the evolutionary trait for human beings is sentience, is consciousness. So we're supposed to be the conscious ones, but we're not very good at it. We have free will, so we can choose to be ignorant and selfish if that's the way we act, we want to, we choose to. But if we chose generosity and we chose consciousness, what would be the result? And that seems to be completely different. So it's possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems. The implication of that is we could restore the entire earth to ecological function if that was our intention. So we need to have that as an intention. And that's an intention that certainly millions and billions of people around the world could already embrace. I mean, as far as we can tell, I think it's not life that's endangered by climate change. It's human beings, it's human civilization. And we need to save the earth. We need to restore the earth, the natural ecological systems of the earth. We understand how the hydrological cycle works. We understand how the atmosphere works. We understand botany to some extent. We understand microbiology to some extent. We understand atmospheric science. We understand all these things. We actually know how the climate is naturally regulated. We're just substituting our manufacturing and buying and selling things and thinking that this is somehow responsible for well-being or life, but it's not. Oxygen in the air and water without pollution and food, these are the things that we need for life. So they're basically three determinants that we need. We need biodiversity, we need biomass, and we need accumulated organic matter. And if we understood this totally as a species, and we acted together as a species on a planetary scale, then to restore biodiversity, biomass, and accumulated organic matter, within a few hundred years, we would restore most of the functionality to the planet. And this would be our best shot at helping the climate to stay within a range where we, in our lives and future generations, will have the best possible outcome. So we're going to have mass enlightenment immediately. There's a very short, according to the scientific evidence, there's a very short window of opportunity to act. So if we're unable to make quite significant changes within the next decade or 15 years, this is a very short period of time. And if we don't act in this time, then we could cross boundaries which we can't go back from, because we will have to react instead of act. Human civilization could not survive this kind of thing. Methane release in the Arctic, this is a gas which is more than 20 times more egregious than carbon as a greenhouse gas emission. And there's huge deposits because there were ancient forests and grasslands and other things which were buried below the soils, and then they were frozen with water. And now, because of anaerobic bacteria, the digestion of these organic materials over long periods of time, similar to the creation of coal or oil or gas, but these are methane deposits. They're gas. It's natural gas, and it's trapped there, and it's frozen. And if this thaws out and just releases into the atmosphere in enormous quantities, then we could have runaway global warming. This is terrifying. So if you don't really think about that, and you think that, well, it's better off if we're a little bit warmer, that wouldn't be a problem, would it? Well, it's a gigantic problem. So if we cross parameters which have not been seen throughout the period where human beings have been on the planet, or certainly outside the limits of where human beings have been civilized or have lived in communities and been the dominant species, then we really have no idea what the outcomes can be. We're quite clever in some ways, but this is different. This is another level, another order of complexity. This is a cross-section, and in a sense, it's a question of whether you can reach collective consciousness anywhere. If you can have collective consciousness somewhere, then you can have it everywhere on the earth, and especially if you have all types of cultural differences and they can be overcome to all understand the same things and all act together. So what we're looking at now with climate change is that that's what we need. We need to act together. We can't solve this nationally or regionally. We have to act as humanity to do this. And to act as humanity together, we have to know something together. We have to agree about something. We have to understand what our collective consciousness is. We can understand what's happening to the earth, and we can understand what we have to do to make it right. And if we don't act on this, then, well, if there are future generations, they'll look back and be pretty angry with us for not doing what was necessary. But if we do what we know has to be done, then future generations will look back and say, thank you, this was the turning point that changed human civilization. So climate change is not simply an opportunity to unite, it's the necessity to unite. We must act together. Well, I think it's very hopeful that it's possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems. In order to do that, you have to have large numbers of people, and they have to stop doing negative behaviors and put their energy into positive behaviors. That's new industries. That's the type of growth that we can have. We don't need more extraction, more manufacturing, and more sales. We need more work on ecosystem-based adaptation. We need to restore the soils, restore the hydrological cycle, restore the biodiversity to ensure that our foods are healthy and without any kind of chemical pollutions. And we can do this. So this is what gives our lives meaning. This also changes our attitude from one of confusion to one of clarity. We don't have to be confused about climate change. We just have to act and do what we need to do to make sure that the earth and our communities are as resilient as they possibly can be. That's the only thing that we can do now. It's really just the next step. There will be many more steps in the human story as long as we make this next one. If we don't make this next one, then we may be looking at a much shorter type of human civilization. But anyway, let's go for the long term. The person who dies with the most stuff doesn't win. This is a lie. The society that is the most equal, that takes care of everyone, that doesn't have anybody who falls down and is starving and homeless and uncared for, that's a successful society. We can have an economy that values the source of life. We have to ask certain questions like, what is money? Where does this come from? What is it? And money, according to the dictionary, is a storehouse of value and a means of exchange, and it's a trust mechanism. These are abstract thoughts. That means money can be anything we want it to be. There's a much higher value, and that value is in the natural systems, the ecological systems, which are the basis of life. And these systems are not now valued. We don't need to monetize nature. We need to naturalize the economy, because ecosystem function is vastly more valuable than anything that has ever been made and everything that ever will be made. And we need to reflect that in human economy. And if money is based on ecological function, then all human efforts will go toward protecting, conserving, and restoring any degraded parts of the earth. This is what we need in order to address climate change and to ensure the survival and sustainability of humanity. And then if we carry that further, we can understand that this is the basis of life. This is the basis of value. And that if we got this correct and we valued this higher than stuff, than shiny objects that degrade and are thrown away and are potentially toxic, then we would understand that this could be the basis of our money. This could be the basis of our economy. This would change human civilization forever. This would mean that within a few hundred years, we would be back to evolutionary climax equilibriums, and that humans would learn to adapt and to live in natural systems. That's where we're supposed to. We're supposed to live in paradise. We're not supposed to live in a degraded state. We emerged in a beautiful, beautiful planet, and we should take care of this and restore this. We found that it's possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems, and that this is the solution to climate change, because we can sequester carbon in the biomass and in the soils, and that every human being on the planet has a role to play in this, that it's a new age in human civilization, an ecological age, one that gives us meaning, gives our lives meaning, and ensures that future generations will have a wonderful earth that's fully functional to live in.
Oh,